Could Sam Johnstone be on the move to Everton? Coming up on Palace News, also, we got another player that's being rumored with us on the free transfer market that could possibly be of some interest to Crystal Palace. We're going to be talking about that. A couple things today on Palace News. Really looking forward to connecting with you guys. Be with you in just. What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening to some. How y'all doing today, man? It's your guy T. Um, with you guys again for another rendition, another version of Palace News, man. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat that's joined us today, man. Always a pleasure to join you guys, man. But we got some cool things to talk about today, things to get to. I think I'll be joined by D here at some point. We'll see. I know he's got some things going on, some stuff to attend to. So we'll see how that goes, man. But I guess, hey, let's jump straight into it. All right. So according to the boot room, Everton are interested in Sam Johnstone if, in the event they sell Jordan Pickford this summer. As you all know, Crystal Palace were able to acquire Johnston on a free transfer after his time with West Bromwich Albion. But apparently, in his contract, there is a £10 million release clause. And as I said, the boot room originally reported that. So, man, let's jump straight into it, man. Wow. So, for everybody that knows that follows Palace, Johnston was brought in at the beginning of this season. Sat most of the year behind Vicente Guaita. Had some injury issues throughout the season, but in the late season came on and really took on the number one spot, and it made it his own. So much so that here we are talking about him having interest from another Premier League team for literally 10 times the amount that we receiving for. Now, he is on a long-term contract with us. He does have another 3 years of contract terms to go with us. So interesting to see how things play out with that. But let's just get a little bit of feedback from you all. So yeah, it is 10 million. It's what the release clause is. Our finance guy Tim here, apparently 10 million. He may be the first choice goalkeeper this season. Can't let him go for that. I understand. I fully agree. But the problem is if it's contractual and if it's a buy clause, they pay the 10 million. There's nothing we can do. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but if that's contractually agreed as the $10 million buy clause, and I don't think we can do anything unless we go back and renegotiate with him for more. Suggest 15 million. Yeah, I mean, for a starting caliber goalkeeper in the Premier League, yeah, that's very much the least. I mean, he's still in his 20s. I believe he's 29 right now. So it just depends. I think it's a tough thing when we're talking about the value over what's contractually out there for him. You know what I mean? Because if it's contractual, they stump up that money. Not much we can do there, unfortunately. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, how it plays out. I mean, seen some of the opinions for you all, but just let me know in the chat. Is it a good move if we end up getting rid of him for 10 million? For him to go to another team. I mean, we still have Guaita under contract, even though he's been subject to rumors recently about going back to his old club, Getafe. But if we end up losing Johnston, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing for this amount? I mean, we did get him for free. So just tell me what you all think about it. What your thoughts are on that. Yes, Monty, it is Everton. And, the thing that bothers me, too, is like it's another one of those things. I feel like there's way more rumors about guys leaving than guys coming. But, Depends on the wages, but Everton aren't in great financial shape. No, they're not, Mitch. And I think that's why this type of move makes sense for them. Because if you think about it, if they end up selling Jordan Pickford, it's going to be for a pretty good fee. I mean, he's England's number one. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a really good fee that comes with that. So that's going to help them financially. And then rather than taking that whole amount that you got from the sale of Pickford, you take a portion of it in this situation, $10 million, to then go out and get a starting caliber goalkeeper who has Premier League experience. So, and it's also another national goalkeeper, because right now, you know, Johnson is with the England team. So financially, it actually makes sense as a good move for Everton if they can do it that way. What's up, Colin, man? How you doing? Let's see here. Yeah, a lot of people talking about the manager in here. It's definitely the thing that's on the minds of people. Doesn't Johnston get to decide whether he wants to accept the move? Yes, he does. So when they trigger the release, they then have to negotiate with the player. And if the player decides on leaving, he can. So I guess it all depends on what Johnston wants to do at the end. What's up, D?
What's going on, bro? You started the show, yeah?
Yeah.
My bad for being late. My bad for being late. I was stuck in traffic. How you been?
Oh, good, man. Been good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I've been good. A few stuff that's been coming out today. Of course, I think you started already with Sam Johnstone.
Yeah, we're on that right now.
Potentially, we've been potentially linked with a move away, and it depends on if Jordan Pickford leaves, which there is a chance for that. I don't know if you've mentioned the Manchester United bit in the story.
No, not yet. No.
So the story depends on if Jordan Pickford leaves and Manchester United are interested in him, which I mean, David De Gea is going to leave Manchester United. I think everyone is looking more than likely not signing another contract extension. So if David De Gea does not end up signing a contract extension, they want another goalkeeper. Onana is the one that is being rumored. So despite everything, it will be unlikely, well, based on the rumors anyway, that Man United get Pickford out of everyone else, because it seems like they've got other priorities like Diego Costa, the goalkeeper, and also you got Onana as well. So if it does happen, it's very interesting. But I don't know if you've already mentioned that. I think you guys have been talking about it already, about the £10 million release clause. I think that's the juicy bit about the story, because this is something that we haven't heard before, and I think this is something that we should all discuss. Everyone that's joining us live right now as well, that's in the comments, that's watching the replay, let us know your thoughts on the £10 million release clause. T, you probably said your bit on it, I assume.
Yeah,
are you shocked? Are you surprised with the release clause?
In some ways, I'm not, because when you buy a guy for free, you know, when you get a guy for free like that, I mean, buy a guy for free doesn't make sense. When you get a guy for free, I feel like there's kind of a, you know, it's kind of hit or miss. You don't know how well he's going to do or what he's going to be worth. So you kind of place that buy option at what his market value is, you know, at the time of him coming on. And that's probably where his market would have been coming into Palace, about 10 million. So, you know, just that he came in and he definitely outplayed his value, in my opinion. So it's just tough.
So how long has he actually got left? It's
3 years.
I'm asking. 3 years. 3 years has okay. That's interesting.
Till he's with us.
I was going to say. Okay, that's interesting. I think £10 million. That's very surprising, though. Why would we? Well, I guess it depends on how we view Sam Johnstone coming into the team, because when Johnstone, up until recently, he wasn't really playing as much. Vicente was the number one option, and I think there's stories about that coming out as well. And was only meant to talk about 1 or 2 stories, but I think there might be a few more to talk about that's been coming out in the last few minutes or so, which is, I think there's one about Hodgson, which I guess you guys would want to know about. So I'm going to quickly look into that whilst we're doing the show. But yeah, I mean, 3 years, £10 million. Do you think the reason why we put it on the contract, maybe there was discussion, of course, with his agent and Sam Johnstone and the club as well, is because there was also that risk for Johnstone that he might not be first choice goalkeeper?
Exactly.
And if
Exactly.
there's another club that comes for him, do you think that is the case? Because other than that, it makes no other valid explanation come to my head that we would put £10 million release clause for Sam Johnson. You might put 20 because that'll still be a good offer regardless. But 10 million in today's market is basically saying if anyone's interested, then come through.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, I think they weren't sure if he's going to be the number one choice. He's had a little bit of injury issues, unfortunately, but who knows? I mean, he's almost 30. When you get on the other side of 30, your value changes. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I don't know how many goalkeepers right now are going to go for 20 plus $1 million at the age of 30 plus. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
not too many of those out there. So that probably age probably factoring into it too. So I mean, there are some things, but now where we stand with him, I think is the biggest difference. The jump that he's made, the fact that he's played really well at coming on to being a starter, to where he's gotten into the England team. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many components that have come together to make it seem like, oh, well, shoot, he's definitely worth a lot more. I think he's just outplayed the value of the contract that he came in with. And that's just the situation.
Yeah, and I think Mitch says it well in the comments as well. When he came in, it wasn't clear whether he would get any game time. So
Yeah.
understandable, he negotiated for a release clause so he would spend his prime years on our bench if someone wanted him. And talking about on our bench, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I'm gonna get it out in a few minutes' time, but there's reports coming out about Vicente as well, which is, I mean, he came out a few days ago, but there's new reports coming out which I need to confirm, and then we'll discuss it maybe in this show as well. So yeah, a few stuff has been coming out as I mentioned. If you guys enjoying the show, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, people. We'll try to stay as consistent as possible. But yeah, let's keep the channel growing as well. Release clause is a safety net for Johnson, but is in prime goalkeeper age 28 to 33. Moving from the age side and the release clause, well, what do you make of Sam Johnson now that we've seen him? Because that was the biggest question mark. And that was one thing that I really wanted to see. And I'm so happy about it. Of course, it came in expense of Vicente Guaita being out injured, which you don't like. But I really wanted to see Sam Johnson have consecutive run of games so we know what to expect from him. And I think right now we're in a comfortable position where we can discuss about Sam Johnson because we've seen decent amount of games. Even though it's towards the end of the season, he has some very good games where he saved us as well. Has your opinion from when he was at the club, let's say earlier on in the season, to how he ended the season, has your opinion on him changed, or did you always expect him to be as quality as he has been towards the end of the season?
I mean, honestly, I think what we saw from him is what I expected him to be coming in. I mean, when you think about his history as a goalkeeper, he's been in the England squad before, so he's seen some pretty significant success. I think he hit that rough patch just being a part of a squad that got relegated. Being a part of a team that got relegated. I think that really hurt him, and then not moving after being a part of that relegation. He was a loyal guy. He stuck with the team and things like that, but I always thought he was a solid goalkeeper. I think it's kind of funny. I think he very much fits where we are in our certain situation right now in the Premier League. He's a very solid starting caliber keeper, very middle, I guess you would say, like middling when it comes to the overall spectrum of goalkeepers within the Premier League. He's not the best, but he's far, far better than any of the worst. You know what I mean? He's probably that middle of the pack goalkeeper, but I mean, he's really solid though. Like, been very pleased with him. I think he's really been what I expected.
Yeah, and shot stopping, I think that's the one area that I was very surprised about, especially at Leeds. Remember,
Yeah.
before we ended up scoring 5 goals and beating Leeds, without Sam Johnston, maybe in that first half, God knows what the score would have been.
Yeah, they were putting some shots on.
And that plays a key part towards the end of the season when you need to pick up points against another side that's been struggling, and we saw it. They got relegated. If Sam Johnstone didn't make 1 or 2 decent saves as he did in the first half against Leeds, then let's say worst case scenario, we end up losing that game, and then you never know. You never know. Maybe we end up in a position where Leeds ended up. So I think a goalkeeper plays a massive part. But in the modern day, goalkeepers, maybe we didn't see it as much with Hodgson. Goalkeepers also need to be comfortable with their feet. What did you think about his footwork?
I mean, I think that was one of the things. I mean, even he had great shot stopping ability, but I think the thing that stood out to me the most about him immediately was his ability to play with his feet. Because we talked about what we saw from Vicente, and we thought he was doing a serviceable job, but the one area of struggle for him was in his distribution and his ability and his comfortability with playing with his feet. As soon as Johnston came in, that was one of the first things you saw is his ability to play with his feet, his comfort with playing with the ball to his feet, and it really shifted the way that we could play out of the back too. So.
Yeah. So there's a few other stuff that's been coming up today. So over, I think, in basically an hour and a half ago,
Mhm.
Ed Aarons, who's a very reputable source, he said the following: that Crystal Palace have considered candidates, including Graham Potter, for the manager's job, but are still expected to persuade Roy Hodgson to stay, despite the 75-year-old's reservations about continuing for another season. So I'll repeat that bit. They are expected to persuade Roy Hodgson to stay. It seems like Roy is not certain even about staying for another season. I'm a bit surprised about that based on what he said doing interviews for the overlap. So what do you make of that, T? It wasn't on the agenda today when we was going to talk about it,
Mhm.
but a few stuff has come out after we had a little briefing. Roy
Mhm.
Hodgson is not sure about staying, but Palace want to persuade him. Are we getting a bit too desperate about this manager situation?
This type of situation is starting to become commonplace with Palace. I feel like where we harp and we sit on our proverbial plan A for so long, and we beat it and we beat it and we try and we talk and we negotiate and we discuss, and it goes on for too long, and then we find ourselves trying to patchwork something on the back end just to make things work because of time's sake. You know what I mean? Like hearing the fact that leading up to this point, to I think when this Ed Aaron's interview came out, it was always the fact of us offering Roy the opportunity to come back and him accepting it. Now it's like Roy's like, hey, I don't know if I want to do this, man. So now we're here trying to persuade him, and it's like, yo, what's going on, man? What are we really doing here? Like it and like there are times like it reminds me of the Conor Gallagher thing where we're trying to, after we lost him to the end of his loan, it's like we're beating it, we're trying to get him back, trying to get him back, trying to get him back, and we're not bringing anybody else in. You know what I mean? Or sitting on targets, not having that plan B, or not setting a deadline to move on from plan A to plan B. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff is what I don't like about the situation more than anything else.
I'll be honest, this is a bit scary now. The reason why I'm saying it's scary is we are trying to persuade Roy Hodgson to stay on.
Yep.
Like, what does that tell about what is going on behind the scenes? If that doesn't tell what's going on behind the scenes, then I don't know what will. According to Ed Aarons is a very good source as well. He
Very
knows
reliable.
his stuff. Yeah, he's reliable as well. But look, how I see it is, if we're trying to persuade Roy to stay, that's it. You move on. You move on. The guy's done enough. The guy's done enough. I mean, what reservation does he have? He should be able to, well, based on what he was saying before, he really wants, well, if the opportunity was given based on the comments he made, he was likely to stay on. But if the guy, age plays a part, of course. If he wants to retire, just let him
Exactly.
retire.
If
Do you get it?
we have to sit here and try to persuade and convince a man in his mid 70s to manage this team, like that's not a good thing, man. That's not a good look. First of all, to even let something like that get out into the media is not a good thing. Like because
Yeah,
it's not good optics for your club.
and we spoke about yesterday, me and AJ, because there was another talk about manager situation update. We gave a little update on the situation, and yesterday I did say that it seemed like Roy Hodgson went out on holiday. So as we're speaking right now, I still believe he's out on holiday, so he's probably not in the country,
Mm-hmm.
which says it all. Look, end of the day, you have to question, as much as some people might want to keep Roy, you have to question what benefit does it have keeping a man that's not really sure about staying.
Yep. Because
Do you get
because
it? You need to have the
even if he
motivation.
decides to stay, we'll be having the same exact conversation after next season.
You need
Because with a
exactly.
guy that age, it's a year to year thing. You don't know if he's gonna, like, at this stage of his life, it's a year to year thing, and you just don't know. And the thing is, I think we need to be focusing on the long term prosperity of this club and making progressive steps forward, rather than having to this year by year checkup, or this year by year basis of wondering what it's gonna be looking like.
Yeah. And look, send in your comments if you're watching a replay. Send them down below and send them through the live comment section if you're watching us live as well. People, make sure to hit the like button. What do you guys make of this report coming from Ed Aarons that Roy Hodgson is not sure about staying, but Palace want to persuade him? For me, if the manager doesn't have motivation, is double thinking about whether he wants to stay or not, it's probably the best time to move on. Age plays a part. He's probably thinking about retirement. He's got his family as well. He's done a very good job for us from coming in from April, but asking another man to do 38 games, there's going to be stress involved, with games and the fixture congestion. If he's not sure about it, then just let the guy go on his own path. End of the day, I think the only reason why they're trying to persuade him is because paper over cracks once again. It's because I don't think we can attract other managers, which is the scary part. And if we can't attract other managers and Roy doesn't want to stay, it's not looking nice. I think that's the best way forward. So what I think is happening right now is the board are trying to persuade him because the board are just stuck in a mud. They are stuck. They're stuck in the shit. I don't know how else to put it. That's what it seems like. Because Graham Potter, it seemed like he got interviewed. The other manager got interviewed, but Brendan Rodgers is gone. Graham Potter, there's nothing about. I'm pretty sure if Graham Potter did want the Palace job like that we would have hired him by now. So I'm not too sure if he wants to come. So I really think we're entering stage now where we talk about, 2 to 3 weeks about pre-season. Yes, but there's a bigger issue here where the manager situation, we're not really... I mean, we're not really looking convincing.
You're tiptoeing on very, very thin ice because of the fact that I think somebody actually talked about it in the chat here. We hired Vieira July, like 4th of July, and we're only a couple weeks from being at that point. Like, the fact that we find ourselves another time at this situation within a 2 to 3 year span in the same situation, it's just not, it's not healthy, and it makes you wonder about. I'm not saying that the people in charge don't know how to run a Premier League club, because obviously
they do.
I mean,
to keep us up
to keep us up. Yeah, they obviously have to keep us up for going on an 11th season, but there are definitely some inefficiencies. There is maybe a lack of adeptness that we're seeing here that is showing its head very often. That isn't acceptable.
Well, I've said this before, and sometimes people slate me for this. I've said this before. I love to see Parrish for the job that he's done, but it's not just him. If you want to move on to the next level, there clearly needs to be change in the background. Because I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired coming and talking about. Only recently there was something about John Textor coming out, and then we've known that Steve Parrish and John Textor don't get along. Like, I'm just sick and tired of that. Other clubs are trying to do business, trying to progress, trying to push on. Even Bournemouth, to a certain extent, as you saw it as well. They sacked their manager, brought in another manager. They're looking to push on. We're just having hissy-fissy fights behind the scenes, trying to fight each other. And we don't have a manager yet. We don't know what's happening with Wilf. Like, it's getting tiring. Yes, you can stay up every single year. And I'm not saying we should be like a top 6 club, but we need to get our shit together if we want to progress. We just do. That starts from that. Forget about the manager. That starts from the people that hire the manager, because I don't think for a second of a time that our board are just everyone is in relation with each other. I don't think everyone's on the same page with each other, and I mean that's a big problem. If you have people that's not on the same page with each other, that's invested millions and millions into the club, then that's going to be an issue. We need to solve that. But I think there's a lot of ego.
It's tough to have those same people that are so invested in the club, putting so much money in the club, and they literally have almost no say in the club. You know what I mean? That's going to cause a problem. The fact that I'm putting all of these millions of dollars into one of my investments, into something that I value at a high level because of how much money I'm putting into it. But either I don't know the daily goings on of the club, or I'm not involved in a lot of the say that's going on too. Like, that's an issue.
Yeah, it is an issue. But let us know what you guys think in the comment section as well about the manager situation. So the latest, if you're just joining now, or you can go watch the show back on replay as well. We spoke about Sam Johnstone and his release clause, is that Palace are trying to persuade Roy Hodgson, and that's according to Ed Aarons, who's a very reputable source. Roy Hodgson is not sure whether he wants to return back to Palace. So that's pretty much a bit of change of plans. Well, I think we said a similar thing yesterday on yesterday's show, but Ed Aaron's coming out and saying it probably makes things a bit spicy. Yeah. Patrick's there. How you doing, Patrick? You good? You normally don't like this.
No,
yeah, how come
no,
you're here? You
I
must be
know.
frustrated.
I'm not
You must
good.
be frustrated to be here.
I'm not good.
Why?
Are we serious right now? Roy Hodgson's staying. Is that the
No,
plan?
it doesn't say Roy
I
Hodgson
hope
staying.
that- I
We're
hope
trying to
that's-
convince Roy Hodgson to stay.
We have no manager. He's going to come back. So this has been the plan the entire time to have him come back.
Yeah,
is the
well,
plan.
that's the plan. But the
But
the
fact that
report I
we
just
have
read
to
out,
convince
yeah,
him to.
we have to persuade him. So we
Why-
can't just.
how-
It's not as easy as we thought.
How has it come to this? I don't understand. How has it come to this?
Thank you,
Explain this.
Patrick.
Somebody explain this to me.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you.
So in a normal scenario for a normal football club, you would think you'll look at Palace, you'll say, "Oh, the season just ended.
Right.
They have to bring in another manager." But when you add context to it, it is a bit pathetic because we got rid of Patrick Vieira at the start of April. Let's just say start of April for the Leicester game. That's when we had Roy Hodgson. And so we've had April, May, June. Basically, June is going to be done. So we've had about 3 months. And we said, well, based on reports so far, it seems like we have interviewed candidates. So it's not like we've just been sitting down and just playing, game of FIFA. So we have been, working behind the scenes. But what is surprising, I think, to many is Roy not being keen. I think I think that's the biggest question. How does it come down to this? What has changed Roy's mind? Because I don't know about you, but I thought Roy would be wanting to stay on based on all the interviews that he gave and what he said. But if you can't even,
why would
that conversation should have had before.
See, this is the thing, right? I mean, this has been a theme for 10 years. Whenever we got rid of manager, except when we brought Pardew in, we've always done this. We've always not had a plan. Always not had a plan. The amount of times that Keith Miller took over for us because we didn't have a plan. Warner took over, we didn't have a plan. It's like we never have a plan. Hodgson was going to retire, made it known, and we still couldn't get a manager until Vieira last minute. We never have. I don't understand. This doesn't make any. We never have a plan. Bournemouth been in the Premier League back 1 season, fires the manager, and 2 hours later they announced their new manager. 2 hours later, we're on 3 months. We are run by the most incompetent board I've ever known. Whether they're dysfunctional, whatever the reason, I don't care what it is. This is ridiculous. I don't understand. Our only plan is to build the academy, build the new stand, and hope Will Zaha resigns. What kind of football club is this? And I'm sorry, and avoid relegation.
To play devil's advocate, can I say that we did have a plan when we got rid of Vieira by bringing in Hodgson to keep us up?
But again, that's been our 10-year plan to stay up. That's not a plan. That's not a serious plan.
Well,
D.
yeah.
You have to admit that. That's not a serious plan. If it was 4 years, serious plan. 5 years, serious plan. 10 years just to stay up? That's not a plan. That's what we call this American term. We're just winging it, right? Right, T? We're just winging it.
Winging it. I mean, because the thing that gets me is with this whole Roy thing, especially the narrative that's being played out now. The whole time that Roy was took over and was doing his job, they kept asking him about coming back, and he said, "Look, my understanding is I am here until the end of the season, and that is it. That is all." Now, we as onlookers thought that he was playing coy and thought that he didn't really want to talk about the fact that he might be going on for another year. When in actuality, no, Roy was being completely honest with us.
Yeah,
Roy was being completely honest.
Right, he was.
And he was saying to himself, "No, my job is to be here to keep us up, finish these 10 games."
Fair
So
enough.
with that being said, that just lets you know what Patrick said, that we are not being run competently because of the fact that you should have known that he was being honest and that you need to have plan B,
a
plan C, plan D.
Right.
And this whole time that we've been waiting for manager information, people thinking, "Oh, it's just going to be Roy. It's just going to be Roy." Dude, if it was just going to be Roy, they would have said it a long time ago because that would have took all the pressure off. But the problem is, no, they don't know if it's going to be Roy because Roy doesn't know if he wants to coach. He doesn't because he's 70-something years old.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
The,
it's. I
the
mean,
problem
I,
is
I
we
don't know
continue
how
to
we're
be
at the end
run
of
like
June.
a
It's the 20th
small
of June.
club.
It's the 20th of June, and we're hearing reports about Roy not sure about staying on. Where we, well, I guess that's why we haven't hired, as you said, T. I think that's why we haven't hired Roy so far. And you know what? Managers would want to come to the Premier League. I'm sorry, but they would. They would want to come to Palace because I don't think we're a terrible side. We've been in the Premier League for 10 years as well. But you need to show a bit of ambition. I think that's where probably we're lacking. We've interviewed candidates, but you have to show ambition. And the manager just doesn't want to come to the Premier League just to stay up. A manager wants to come to the Premier League and he wants to be financially backed. A manager a manager wants to push forward with his career. He wants to build. I mean, I hate to use them as comparison, but we always do because of they were literally below us and now they're playing Europe. But Brighton, for example, they got rid of Graham Potter. I'm just imagining that situation. Not only did they get rid of Graham Potter, they got rid of the technical director, Dan Ashworth, who went to Newcastle. They got rid of the
Right.
manager, the backroom staff as well.
Backroom
They
stuff.
managed to
And they replaced all of
managed to-
that.
yeah,
All of
they
it.
managed to hire someone that actually ended up doing better. Now that's not always going to be the scenario. It could have went worse for Brighton. But one thing
course it
that,
could.
that
But it's
one
just they
thing
had the
that
plan
they
to
did
get the
have,
guy there.
yeah, one thing that they did have, it seemed like they had like a short list. They were ready, and it seemed like that's what they
Right.
have with players as well. That's why if the Brighton goalkeeper was to go, I wouldn't be surprised if names start popping up and Brighton start
Oh, they got
tomorrow.
no problem.
And yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
they have a backup plan.
Yeah.
With us, it's been 3 months without a manager, technically, because I'm not going to count Roy. It's been 3 months without a manager. And within that 3 months, maybe staying up, we weren't certain, and that might have played a part. But within that 3 months, you should have a good shortlist and you should go interview people. And then afterwards, say, you know what? Yep, you tick the box, you tick the box. Do you want to stay? Do you want the job? Cool, you pass. If we've interviewed people and no one's passing the checks, then go and interview more. Like, what's our shortlist? Like 5 people. Like, we need to have, like, we should have candidates just written down for a club or a Premier League club for about 10 years. You have to have more candidates. You have to have these things in line. But right now, I'm not saying I don't know for certain. No one here knows for certain that we don't. But based on what's going on so far and that Roy's having reservations and this and that, I mean, it seemed like we don't know what we're doing. It seemed like we don't know what we're doing. We should have everything in check by now. We should have all the candidates interviewed and simply, do you want the job? Look, you was good at the interview. You was one of our first top managers. Because of Brighton, if you remember, De Zerbi was on top of their list. And they were lucky in a way because they got him right away because of what's happening in Ukraine.
Right, in Ukraine,
so they were lucky.
Yeah,
but he was on the top of their list. So who's on top of our list? Was it Hodgson? If it's Hodgson, maybe that's it. Maybe it's Hodgson and he's not sure about it and we're just flirting about because, you know,
we should have had a deadline.
We
should have had a deadline for him to respond about whether or not he wanted to take the job so that we can move the hell on and figure out who's coming in next. Like the fact that like it's all about timeliness, man. Like this is not and I said this what, a week plus ago to AJ. If we hired another manager today or tomorrow, it would be late and it would put us in a situation where we have to operate from being proverbially behind the 8 ball.
Yep.
Because we have what, maybe 3 weeks until preseason starts. And this manager has to come in and do all of these things and get all this stuff together and hopefully to be ready for the matches, the preseason matches and the new season.
Here's the thing though, T, that's a very good point because with Vieira, right, and this is why I think that Parish is planned all on to keep Hodgson, is that with Vieira, the whole thing with Vieira or whoever's going to be when Hodgson left the first time, we had like 5, 6, 7 players who were out of contract.
We had gone through our manager list.
We don't have that now. We just re-signed Tompkins, Ayew, Ward, Klein, Ferguson. Our squad's basically set. You guys realize that, right? Maybe we'll get a striker, which we want on a right back. That's it. This is going to be the squad for whoever comes in. So it's not like he's going to come in and change the thing around. So that's why I always thought in my head, it's going to be Hodgson because there's really been no plan and I haven't heard one real managerial link to Palace. Normally you'll get a couple of leaks. There has not been one certified leak that said, okay, we talked to Potter, he said no. Remember the first time we spoke to Lampard, he said no. We spoke to Nuno, he said
it was
no.
Lampard, Nuno.
You know when you get turned down by Lampard,
Favre.
that's like
Yeah, but
you're
I
down
mean,
in the slump.
we had the
Everyone
Lampard.
Frank Lampard.
We had Lampard, we had Nuno, we had
Yeah, I said this yesterday.
Favre, all that stuff.
Right, exactly. There's not name the one we linked to
managers
this
all-
time. Not one.
Yeah.
Not one. We haven't linked into
Well,
part. We weren't
Graham,
linked to.
well, we're being linked, but
We
No,
haven't
we
actually-
I'll be honest.
we linked him, us three, but no one. The media hasn't linked.
No.
him.
There must
come
be
on.
stories. I'm not
Nah,
making up
nah,
stories.
nah,
There's been stories out there, but
I mean, but
the
there were
difference-
more
okay,
concrete stuff
Dee,
as far
the
as
difference
like
is-
contract
the difference-
You
negotiations.
have D. You have not done one Palace News show where you have said X, Y, and Z has linked Palace to Potter. Go back and tell me the show.
No,
You
we
haven't.
have, but I'm
No.
gonna tell you the difference. We have, but it's been Palace interested in Potter rather than Palace are setting up an interview date. Things are
Yeah,
progressing.
it hasn't been
last time what's
been
happening
contract
is
negotiations and things like that.
Right,
Like
that's not
Nuno,
not solid.
like
That
there
was
was contract
Nuno-
negotiation with
Right.
Nuno because we didn't want to bring in his backroom stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Contract
that was
negotiation with
solid. In-depth,
Favre when he backed out because he
Right.
didn't want to come back
Lampard
to
too.
coaching yet. Lampard
Right.
turned us down. So like those were
Exactly.
concrete contractual,
Right.
but we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Exactly. I think that's the difference. We've just mentioned names, but we haven't really heard any details about Nuno and his boardroom stuff, and he wants 30 people to work behind the scenes and etc. Like we haven't got to that stage, It seemed like we've just mentioned names for the sake of it. It might be happening because, as I said many times on Live Palace News, and not everything that we say will happen. There's some stuff that we don't know about that might not happen. We just cover the stories. But based on the stories that we had last time around to this time around, it's different. Like you can tell it's different because we're not having any in-depth conversation about tomorrow. You know what? Potter's progressing, etc.
Exactly.
So we don't know
I
that.
just
So yeah.
I just got a DM on Twitter, and the
Mhm.
dude said, if Crystal Palace was a man, he'd have 15 kids because there is no plan B.
Exactly. Oh, here it is. Look, right here. There's no plan B. And by the way, there's no plan A. There's no plan. We're covered no plan. I don't know. And the thing is, though, I'm being serious. You can wing it for only so long in life because I live by this credo. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Eventually, this lack of planning is going to cost us.
Yep.
I think this season,
you know what? I do think to a certain extent we do have a brief plan in our head, but it doesn't really make sense. I think that's our problem. As I said, I think maybe one of our plans is to keep Hodgson. So we do have that plan. I think he should be number one on the list, and that's why we probably haven't hired him officially because, as we've seen by the reports, he's not too sure about returning. But I think what our problem is, we're too. I think. Look, the funny thing is, come last summer, you can go check the Palace. I backed the board when I remember even Stan and everyone else was getting onto the board. I backed the board saying, you know what, we had a previous good summer under Vieira when he first joined, but we had that problem with even Conor Gallagher where we was talking about Conor Gallagher week in, week out. And it seemed like with us, when we have one plan, such as a plan A, we want to make plan A work. Like we're not willing to write off plan A until it literally physically can't happen. So far, what I think is happening behind the scenes, if you bring all the stories together, is we want to keep Hodgson. Hodgson's not too sure. We're willing to try to persuade him and wait on because technically, as we said, our first preseason match is going to be in 3 weeks. But the problem with that plan, so we do have a plan, but the problem with that plan is you're trying to hire someone who's not too sure about being at the job. Isn't that a massive red flag in the first place?
Yeah, it is.
Massive.
That's a massive red flag in terms of motivation. Exactly.
Right.
So that's where the issue lies. Yes, Hodgson's done a good job previously, but I think he's done a good job because he was willing to come back to Palace to do it
short term.
But if he's not willing to come for a whole season,
nothing. There's no long term plan or structure. Like these clubs that we're talking about that are really having a more success right now, the Brightons, the Brentfords, they have plans that are built out over years. And structures that are multifaceted and that have rules and actual principles to how things are going to work. And it doesn't seem like we have that. You know what
hey,
I
guys,
mean?
Gaurav 10 has a point. He's made the point like 4 times in the chat. So let me put it up because I think he wants us to mention the Pardew thing. So you guys cool with that?
What Paris said, they'll bring managerial Premier League experience and Pardew for his birthday. We're getting Alan Pardew, Frank Lampard,
All right.
No,
Gaurav, appreciate it, bro.
Yeah.
And don't forget, guys like Steven Gerrard are probably going to start coming up, and Scott Parker are going to start coming up.
I'm sorry, but that's funny how you pronounce it. I've never heard someone. No, the American accent makes it more fun. Say Steven Gerrard again.
Gerrard.
Gerrard.
Gerrard. Steven Gerrard.
Gerrard.
Say it like that. Gerrard.
sorry. I just found it funny how you first.
Stevie Gerrard. Stevie Gerrard.
Say again. Say Gerrard again. Steven Gerrard.
Gerrard. Stevie Gerrard.
Say like Peter Drury. Steven Gerrard.
Yeah. No, I've never heard Steven Gerrard like that. I've never seen anyone pronounce.
You ain't got to learn to say it. You're not gonna be our manager. Don't worry about it, bro. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry.
I don't think so either. But I'm saying those are names gonna start getting thrown out there because they're Premier League experienced.
Yeah. But look, I think you know what's gonna happen. We talk about 3 weeks, but technically it's not even 3 weeks. I said as well.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. It was
preseason should start.
Ago.
Normally, preseason should technically start on July the 1st or end of next week.
So 11 days.
That's what 11
days.
Yeah.
We're approaching like 10 days till preseason starts. And you know what I think we're gonna do? Well, hopefully I'm wrong, but even if Roy's not still unsure and we're trying to persuade him, I think Paddy McCarthy's going to come in and start preseason. I don't think we're waiting on 10 or 11 days. I'll be very surprised if we hire a manager next 10 or 11 days. Maybe Hodgson just tells them, leave me alone, Parish. Maybe it has to be, leave me alone, Parish. I'm going to block your number. Maybe if that happens in the next 10 days or so, which I doubt will happen, I think Palace will still keep trying to persuade Roy Hodgson. And it makes sense for them because it's the easy option and manager that we know. And you can tell by our approach. Even yesterday when we were talking about it, we want a manager with Premier League experience. Like, we're not willing to risk anything. And I get it to a certain extent, but I mean, with Vieira, it worked out in the first season well. How far do we expect to go with? I guess Graham Potter will be a good option. That's Premier League experience as well as a risk. But there's not that many managers out there with Premier League experience that I'm thinking that will be able to elevate us to the next level. Brendan Rodgers, maybe he could have been, but he went Celtic. Apart from Graham Potter, is there anyone else out there that has Premier League experience that can elevate us? I don't know. Off the top of my head, apart from Potter, I'm not too sure. What about you guys?
I know part of it is you're limiting yourself by putting that Premier League experience piece in there, man. I mean, just because you don't like Pep Guardiola didn't have Premier League experience when he came here. Jurgen Klopp didn't have Premier League experience when they came here. You know what I mean?
Zerbi didn't have Premier League experience.
Yeah, that's
Thomas
not.
Frank.
You shouldn't
Thomas Frank
limit
didn't have Premier League experience.
You shouldn't limit yourself to that because of the fact that just because you have Premier League experience, a lot of the guys that are out of a job right now that have Premier League experience weren't actually successful in the Premier League. You know what I'm saying?
Mean, let's just say this.
Outside of what we saw Graham Potter do with Brighton, like a lot of these other guys, the reason why they don't have jobs right now is because they didn't do well in the Premier League. So why is that a criteria?
We had our most exciting season with a manager that
who had no experience. Exactly.
No experience.
I think last season was one of the best seasons that we've had in a long time in terms of Premier League experience.
It was
done under Pardew. We had a cup run, and I guess we went to the final.
Pardew was the best. We got to the final, obviously, and then
but then again. Pardew, we struggled in the league for a long period of time.
Right, but we got to a cup final. We were heading a cup final. I mean, I love Vieira, but you can't say that.
But we got to semi-final under Vieira as well as playing exciting football in the league. Well, Pardew, we didn't play. Well, we played some good football.
No, we did. No. Don't say that. Football under Pardew was kamikaze. 5-4 losses to Swansea.
That wasn't. But it wasn't sustainable, and we saw it. Right. And honestly, under Vieira, probably our most exciting time we played football. I know this might sound funny, but it's under Big Sam. I loved it because he went back to the basics. And Benteke was scoring goals, balls into the box, and we was winning games. We beat Arsenal at home as well. Yeah. So we haven't had that much exciting football in the 10 years because we've been trying to stay up. That's not been our objective. But the one time that we did take the risk, because I felt like they didn't even want Vieira. It makes sense because they wanted to sack him so earlier on in the first place. But Vieira was one of our last options. No one can say that wasn't the case.
Like, they were thinking about sacking him in the same season when we got to the semifinals of
exactly, and
that's crazy that they would be considering that.
Middle of that cup run, you want to get rid of him.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, and they didn't want him, so they didn't want Vieira. But then again, we got a manager with no Premier League experience, and it didn't go bad at all.
I don't feel like
the reason why it didn't go bad,
like that should be a requirement, man. That limits us in such a bad way.
But I think the reason why it didn't go bad in the first place is because we invested in the squad as well as bringing Patrick Vieira. If we didn't invest in the squad and brought in Patrick Vieira, it would have went horribly. So I think the moral of the story here is, unless it's Roy Hodgson, whoever we bring in, we still need to invest in the squad. It might not be as necessary as much in terms of
As it
money
was back then.
when
Yep.
Vieira done, but we still
Yep.
need to invest in the squad. I'm sorry, but a new manager coming in, whether it's Graham Potter or not, well, if it's Hodgson, you get away with it because you're trying to stay up, right? Even though Hodgson, even if he does come in, my expectation for Roy Hodgson is going to be higher. I'm sorry, it's going to be not be just staying up because of what he said on Overlap. Hodgson said that this squad should be able to fight for top 10 next season if they add 1 or 2 players. So if Hodgson comes in or not, we should be aiming for top 10 next season. But the easiest option is Roy Hodgson because they know with Hodgson that we don't need to bring in a lot of players. We saw it as well. We can probably keep Joe Ward as a right back and we might be able to keep Eduardo Mateta as a striker, which is absolute bonkers to me because we've known that they're not consistent enough and they get away with it. But as I said about 20 minutes ago till now, it's all paper over cracked. Hodgson is doing a very good job, but he's doing a good job with having with having 2 strikers that are not consistent enough for the Premier League, with having a right back situation, which at times, you know, they don't fit the modern right back fold. But he gets the best out of these players. But if we want to progress, we need to invest. We need to we need to push forward. But then again, look, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Hodgson situation. Because right now, as it stands, we're trying to persuade a guy in his 70s, probably thinking about retirement, and I don't blame him because he's been in management for so long. We're trying to persuade him to stay, and I think that pretty much sums up where we are right now. And it's bigger than just Hodgson. It's bigger than manager talk. As I said many times, I think it's the board. It's the whole board. Until they come to a solution about how they want to run the football club. Because right now, the messages I'm getting is one person wants to run it one way, one person wants to run it the other way. And it's not going to work. It's not a healthy environment, you know.
And there's 4 people, by the way. You only named 2. There's actually 4 people. You only named 2 of them. That's just fun.
Yeah, Harris, Blitzer, Texter, Parrish.
Yeah.
But based on what Parrish said on the interview for the Overlap, it seemed like Harris and Blitz are more in his camp. Well, one of the 2 anyways. He seemed like he mentioned them, and you know he's saying they're doing well for the club. So Tex is the odd one out for Parrish anyway. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it seemed like they got a problem. MTB Flats says, do you guys think the stadium development plans are affecting us financially this season? Money seems tight and all this mess with Texter. Well, you'd think, they might be moving tight about it, but you'd think that it shouldn't impact us that massively because the stadium is getting funded by all the investors, right? That's what Parrish has said. So regardless of if you go down this season or next season, the stadium is going to happen. But maybe they're not willing to put more money forward because of the stadium plans, yes. But then again, I've said this many times. If we build a squad and we push forward, I guess the stadium infrastructure is important. That's more for me. But anyways, that's more exciting as a fan. You know, I can still go Selhurst Park with the stadium as it is, and I'll love it if we had European football and we invested the money into it and we got European football. But financially, I guess you have to find a balance. Maybe it doesn't impact us this season. It probably does. But then again, there's always an excuse with Palace. That's what it feels like anyways, apart from when Vieira first joined. Because I know once the stadium is complete, if we don't spend money, I know that's going to be another excuse. Oh, we built a new stadium. We have to pay off the new stadium. Do you get it? There's always going to be excuses. At what point do you get rid of the excuses and come straight to the fact we're building a stadium? We need to build a stadium, but we also need to buy players. And I don't know about you two, but what I think the problem is with the Premier League right now is you can't have investors. You can't run a football club with just investors. You need to have people with just money that they can waste. Yeah, that's what it's reached. You see it with Chelsea, you see it with Newcastle. If you don't have money to waste, and if you run a football club, you know, financially, you want to be financially viable, then it's going to play a part. Because even Bournemouth, for example, Bournemouth is going to take a risk. Trust me, they're going to bring in players. They got a billionaire. They got a billionaire in their thing, and it seemed like they want to push forward. So I think this, you know,
I think both Brighton and Brentford would have been run financially.
But then again, the difference,
and both of the owners have to be gamblers by heart. They're gamblers.
Yeah, but I think the difference with Brighton and Brentford is they're running financially. Well, saying that Brighton are crazy debt, so it depends on what you call financially stable. They've, you know, Tony Bloom has put a lot of his own money into the football club, but they have different models where they can do that. Whereas their recruitment is so good, and we know that they can, you know, we've seen it. They bring in quality players time after time. They can get rid of players, and they got rid of the manager.
So we need to follow their model then.
Yeah, but I don't think we can follow the model because I don't think the model's out there like that. Because Brentford owner and Brighton owner, they've worked together in the past, so they could probably have a similar type of model. So that leaves Palace out there. Like our model clearly is, to improve the stadium, try bringing in more money like that, and then progress as a football club. But then again, I mean, how long are we going to use the stadium as an excuse? Because if the stadium is going to mean, this year we're improving the stadium, next year we have to pay the stadium, the after we have to pay the stadium, then I don't know if it's going to help us. At the end of the day, I think it's paper over cracks once again. We'll probably need richer owners at a football club who can fund the Premier League football club in its current environment. Back in the day, you can have investors. But I think now how the Premier League has changed is if you run a club with investors that's trying to improve their financial investment into the football club, trying to make more of a buck, I think it's more difficult than ever. It is because there's owners that just spend billions and billions, but that's how I feel about it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's Tim's point. I know it feels like it, but it really isn't. A billionaire can still only run debts up to 105 million, which is true. Financial fair play net over 3 years. So even if a billionaire, you can't do what you're saying.
I mean, I'll be honest, where Newcastle are right now, whatever model they done, we can look at the negatives about having billionaires. Whatever Newcastle's done, it clearly has worked. Do you get it? So
but they also haven't. See, the thing is that people talk about Newcastle, right? And they're going to be the new Man City, but they have not spent to the level that Man City did when Man City got their billion owners. They've been very financially sound. The players they bought have not been crazy signing. People want to.
Yeah, they haven't spent crazy amounts of money. Yeah,
they ain't going to spend 100 million for
Mbappe compared to Palace. They have compared to Palace.
Everybody
has compared to Palace.
You can't compare Palace. We are the cheapest club in the history of the league in the last 10 years. I think it's even debatable. We don't spend.
But that's the thing. We don't need to. Patrick, my point is, we don't need to spend £200 million every summer. We don't.
No, I wasn't saying that.
He was just saying that they haven't blown the bar.
Yeah, I'm talking about recruitment is poor. I'm talking about the manager stuff. I'm not talking about. I don't want to go out and spend 50, 80 million on the players. I'm talking about being like Brentford and being smart, the money ball issue, and I'm talking about how
Newcastle and being smart. Newcastle being smart because some of the players that they brought in, they can sell them on for higher value. It's not like Newcastle just went out there and spent like crazy amount of money. My point is, these owners, regardless of what we think about debt and this and that, these owners are not willing to put that much of their own money. And I get it because it's not my money. I probably wouldn't do it as well if I'm not that rich. Well, Harrison Blitzer are, but then they got other investments. What I think the solution to this whole problem is getting one wealthy owner who actually has the best interest of the football club. That's what Newcastle have right now. Now that one owner could be from wherever. I don't know about that, but even Bournemouth to a certain extent, they got other minority owners, but they got they got that one person that's running the football club. Like I think it's Foley something. I forgot his first name, but
he owns, the guy from Bournemouth. Foley, right. Yeah. He owns that. He owns the Las Vegas. Knights, the Golden Knights. Yeah, exactly. One. But D, we could have this conversation again. But this all goes back to the point of our ownership model doesn't work. I understand what Parish did getting Harrison Blitzer the first time. They obviously want to leave. They own many clubs over here. They just bought the Russian Redskins. They've got tons of money, but don't want to spend it on Palace. I get that. They spent money in the past. Now, Texter and the only way this works is if Texter and Parish can get along, because Texter wants to spend money. As long as you follow this ego model.
But even that's a bit dodgy as well. I don't know. Every time you hear something new about him.
We got the over them. But Parish, with this golden shares nonsense, doesn't work because he has no money but wants to make all the decisions. That's not going to work. Bro, if you three of us were in a business, right? Me, you, and T. And it was me and T had all the money, and you want to make a decision. Then me and T can say, yeah, go ahead, man. Spend my money. And I have a say. No one's going to do that. No one does that. It's not business. No one does that in business.
Seen that dynamic.
Especially not we're talking about millions of pounds, not like a couple of 100,000. Okay, go spend money. I'm going to say, no, I want to say what you want to do with it, what you want to do. And Palace don't want to give the guys, anybody besides Harrison Blitzer, a say. And those two don't care about Palace. They want to leave. And until that is figured out, we're not going to move on at all. We're not moving on as a club at all.
Yeah, that's what I said. One owner, and then maybe Steve Parish can stay as a director or something. But we can't have that. I don't think this Harris Blitzer, John Texas, Steve Parish I don't think that combination works. I think that's the whole problem. So we can look at it as, you have to be, we have to run sustainable, but it's not like these other clubs are not running sustainable. Like they've got the money. Like they're not. I'm pretty sure Newcastle owners are not putting the club at risk of going completely void. But yeah, look, I
want to see that. By the way, I want to see a salary cap for the bigger clubs because only way that
that's not gonna happen though. It's
just watch. Just you know what? It happens.
That's gonna move.
What?
Oh man, that's not gonna happen. I don't think that's
Okay.
gonna happen. There was talks about it, but let's be realistic. That's gonna that's gonna give benefit to other leagues rather than the Premier League. It's not gonna help the Premier League.
Parrish, I watched the interview. Parrish was one of the people who's backing the freaking salary cap.
Of course he would. Of course he would. He doesn't want to spend money. That's the best thing for him.
The reason why is because you can't circumvent a cap the way you can financial fair play. Chelsea is showing you
trust me,
firsthand
living in America with the NFL and baseball. The only reason some of those sports are so much more fair now because you have salary cap. In the NBA, you're not an NBA fan. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You can't have teams like Man City spend whatever they want.
That's why teams like San Antonio couldn't exist. They couldn't keep up.
Exactly. As a franchise.
Indeed, this is me speaking. Like I'm being honest because, like, I know San Antonio. It's a small market, bro.
Right.
In a small market, you just can't compete with the New Yorks, the LAs.
Okay, but why would Premier League clubs want that? Because the Premier League is known for having
the smaller clubs would, not the big six. But
okay, then it's finished.
Big six wouldn't want
no, it's not because it has majority vote. The other 14 teams vote against them. It would get passed. What do you mean? It's not gonna be just like Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham. That's not fair. Then you know what? Leave and join the Super League. Then leave and leave us to suffer.
It will damage the Premier League. I don't think it will happen. It will damage the Premier League.
What? A salary cap?
Yes, it would because it limits. If you limited how much you're giving to a player, that player wouldn't go to Germany.
Tim knows UEFA's considering it. So if you're considering, then why wouldn't the Premier League?
But the thing is, even with a salary cap, the Premier League's easily going to be able to offer more money to players than any other league. That's still going to be the case.
Yeah,
that's not going to change because
it depends on how the salary cap works.
We're talking about the amount of money. So first of all, the salary cap is based on the overall revenue of the league.
Right, not based on individual clubs.
So that alone is going to put the Premier League's cap far exceeding.
But in the long term, let's say the Premier League has it and La Liga doesn't have it and Bundesliga has it, for example. What's going to happen
that's why UEFA, because UEFA covers all those teams.
Yeah, UEFA is different.
But they cover all the leagues. You know what I mean?
Saudi's coming in anyways to take.
That is a wild card none of us can deal with because they're in everything. So once that happens, I mean, listen, they can come and buy Palace if they want. I'm all up for that right now. Buy Palace. Seriously. I
mean, they haven't. That's what people love saying, but they've got a bit of stake in Clear Lake Group for Chelsea, etc. That sounds like it's what people saying. It's a bit dodgy.
They're
but end of the day,
investor.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's true as main investor. I think that's what people are saying, but I don't think they're the main investor. I think they got like a minority stake, like 5%. But yeah, look, there's ways. At the end of the day, this ownership it stinks. This ownership stinks. I miss the old Palace.
The model works. The model stink. They don't stink. I mean, come on, they've kept us up. The model stinks, not them. They don't. Even I don't think Parry stinks. I'm not a big fan of his anymore, but the model stinks, not them as individual. I mean, they put money into our club. They try to do the best to keep us back. It's holding us back big time. It really is. It's holding us back. It's not sustainable.
So yeah, exactly. So the whole thing stinks. The ownership model. Yeah.
We said model. You said the owners. The model, as the T said. The model.
But the owners, okay, right now the owners do stink. I've said it many times. I respect Parrish and I respect everyone that's put money to the club. But right now it does stink. We're talking about here trying to persuade a 70-year-old guy to stay out of job. It stinks.
That's crazy.
It stinks. And the reason for that, and the reason for that is because the ownership stinks. The fact that we're not willing to take risks and go.
Now, how much is that on the ownership and how much is that on the board, though, too? You know what I'm saying?
But bros, what do you mean?
Do you think it's the same thing?
What? No, I don't. What do you mean?
Like the whole Roy conversation and that stuff. Like how much is on the owners and how much is on the board with that piece?
It seemed like the board. It seemed like the board weren't even too sure about sacking Vieira. That's what the reports came out in the first place. So I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't understand how it works with 5% golden share. I mean, everyone has a vote.
Crazy. Yeah. Once again, crazy.
That's the best business move in history.
You got a dude who owns 46% and that don't get no say.
But then again, everyone has a vote.
Moves, which is crazy.
But then everyone has a vote, so I don't.
But at the end, but at the end, he even said it. At the end, like the decision really lies with Parrish. You know what I mean? Even after those votes.
So the whole vote is pointless then. What's the point of voting? It's like a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Like you
But
vote, but you're not gonna
I
get
can read
it.
it. It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
like so your vote is really kind of just like a suggestion or a recommendation.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just, yeah, it's going to be difficult to progress with our current owners, and let's hope that we're still in the Premier League by the time that's solved. Because I don't know if Texer wants to leave. I don't know if Parish would want to leave. I think Parish would want to leave after building a new stand. I think that's a legacy thing. But then again, you're talking about 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years,
Minimum,
and by 2 to 3 years, if they don't pull out each other's hairs, I'll be happy because the way it's going right now, they're clearly not. They're clearly not on the same wavelength. So hopefully by then they're still, a bit sane and they haven't lost their minds completely. So it depends. It depends on what happens there. But let's move on to the final bit of story quickly. AC Milan and Crystal Palace have made offers to sign Tunisian international Ilyas Shaqiri on a free transfer. Shaqiri is available on a free transfer this summer as a contract with FC Cologne expires at the end of June. The report goes on to suggest that Milan have made a contract offer for the 28-year-old, and that is according to Tutu Mercato. Not going to stand too long on this. Another midfielder T that we're linked with, just like yesterday, we were linked with
Aston Ranks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make about midfielder links? I guess it's valid. I guess it's a valid deal.
There's definitely value there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a free transfer, just like the Aston Ranks thing it was a low fee for a young guy. The thing that scares me about this link in particular is the fact that this is another midfielder that you would lose in January to the AFCONs. That's the one thing that stood out to me is the fact that you would lose him because he plays for Tunisia. So
have they qualified? I don't know yet.
Yeah, they did. They did apparently.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that stands out to me immediately, and it's another defensive midfielder. So we've secured a guy like Lerma who we know has significant success in a foundation plan as a 6. So we've got him and Decore. So it's like, do we need to bring in another guy that's a chief defensive midfielder too? I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe for Jair Reedwald, I guess.
Well, he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere.
That's the thing.
That's one player I haven't heard anything about. I haven't heard anything.
He's not going anywhere. Yeah,
but I guess even if it doesn't go anywhere, if the manager rates him or if it doesn't, I don't know. If it's Roy, then you probably won't play Gyro as often. But then if it's another manager, I don't know what will happen. That's the thing. We don't know what's. This club it's tiring to talk about this club. We don't even have a flipping manager yet.
You do it every day though on this show, which is amazing. So good. Big up.
24 June.
It's impressive.
We still don't have a manager yet. Like
so much speculation.
It's crazy, man.
Speculation.
Just hire someone. Just hire someone, man. Harry, just become a manager. Seriously, become a manager. Just hold it for a season. You'll save a bit of money like that as well.
Maybe he'll understand the value. Maybe he'll understand the value
Paddy
of the
McCarthy,
manager by then.
I shouldn't. Not in a bad way, but that's my biggest.
So yeah, let's get to more important stuff. So what's the deal here? Because I heard a little bit yesterday. So you're going to do it if we hire Lampard, right?
Well, we're not going to hire Lampard. That's like saying
that one chip challenge thing.
Have you decided you're definitely going? Because I heard something about some beard. You weren't going to cut your beard off, right? Because that wasn't happening, right? So it's a one chip challenge. You're going to do when we hire Lampard, you're gonna do the one chip challenge. Is that correct?
I'll go bold. I'll cut my beard. I'll do the one chip challenge. I'll do whatever. Like
whatever.
No. We need to know. No. See, we need the plan A. D. We need to know exactly what the plan is here. See,
I'm moving that Palace.
You're on that Crystal Palace.
It depends. This is what I'm willing to do. But
I could do this. I might do this.
Yeah.
I'm persuading myself to cut my beard.
My plan A. I will do the chili peppers, but it's not going to happen. There's no point even wasting. It's not going to happen. Right? There's no way we hire. Okay. If we hire, then Frank Lampard, then I'm just gonna. Yeah, I think I'll lose my head. Literally, I think I'll lose my mind. I'll lose my head. I'll lose everything that I have. There's no way Frank Lampard comes to Crystal Palace. And I don't want to even talk about it because it's a waste of just breath and energy and time that we're never going to get back. So yeah, let's just move on from that. But yeah, we'll see with the midfielder situation. Another free transfer that ticks our box. And yeah, maybe we end up getting him over AC Milan, but it's just what first time has been mentioned, so we'll keep an eye out on that. We've gone much longer than expected. So if you have enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you're new to the channel and let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you to AJ, AJ.
Where's AJ?
AJ's not
Where
even
is
AJ.
Is he in the background somewhere?
Hold
AJ.
on. Hold on.
Is he in the chat?
I could say something about that comment, but I'm gonna let it go.
No, not in that way, man. I've had a long day.
Right, T? You know I'm going with that one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know what you're saying.
I'm gonna let that one go.
Bro, I've
Let
had
that
a long
slide.
day myself. Thanks to AJ
I
who
hear you,
came on
bro.
the stream
I just want England
yesterday.
lose the first test in the Ashes against Australia, so I'm in a great mood. I'm in
Yeah,
no bad mood.
what a pity. Oh, England lost baseball.
You don't like
oh,
you don't like cricket. Oh, that's right. I forgot you don't. You're not really a sports fan. You only follow like one sport, football. Great.
Nah, I watch.
Oh, and basketball.
Watch,
Yeah, great.
I watch proper
Two
sports.
sports.
Yeah, I watch proper sports. But anyways, thank you to T and Patrick for joining me live.
Hey, wait
By
a
the
minute.
way,
Shout out to Patrick, because I'm not gonna lie about this. When Patrick hopped on, the viewers went up by like 20. Not gonna lie.
Wow. I don't know why,
Not gonna lie.
but
Hey man, you
Yeah.
in high demand. People want to see you, man. That's all I can say, man. They've been missing you.
I got nothing to say.
Yeah.
I got nothing to say.
But
Oh, there's AJ.
yeah.
He's behind you. He's
In my
AJ
wardrobe.
behind you, D. He's in your wardrobe.
Yeah, it's in my wardrobe. Yeah, he's just there chilling in my wardrobe. But no, thanks to everyone who joined us live. Let's wrap this up because this is going longer than expected. We'll be back maybe tomorrow when Roy Hodgson is announced. So if he's not,
Yeah, exactly. You guys enjoy that show because I would not be on that show. Seriously.
Yeah, all right.
I would not be on that show.
You 100% be on that show. You'll love it. You'll love that show. You'll be so frustrated. You jump on it. Just like today. The only reason you jump on today.
I will do the Lampard. I'll do the Lampard show to what you do the hot chip challenge. I'll do the Lampard announcement show. That will be epic.
You'll be all right. Let me ask you this before we go. I know we said we're gonna go.
Ahead.
Who would you rather have, Roy Hodgson or Frank Lampard?
Tony
Roy
Pulis.
Hodgson.
Tony Pulis.
Tony Pulis. And on that note, up until next time, up the Palace.
Up the Palace.